Hey, it's your boy Hendo checking in, coming y'all with another video, and today we got the Hebrew Israelites. Um, I respect all Black Americans and their right to believe whatever they want to believe. Me, I just try to learn as a Black student of the game. You know, it's not like I want to learn from my people. You know what I mean? And I would never shut down anybody's ideals because it don't align with what I believe. You know what I mean? So today we're gonna hear from some Black Hebrew Israelites who are trying to break it down in a way that maybe we might understand, I might understand, or somebody out there who don't get it might understand. But before we get into the video, let me start off by letting you know what I do know. I've heard, not well versed in this, and I'm not well versed in the Bible, so I wouldn't even argue no scripture or nothing like that. But what I'm saying is, what I've heard is that America means promised land in Jewish, in Hebrew, or yeah, Hebrew. Um, I know that them Ashkenazi Jews are not the real Jews for sure. I know that now. Whether it's just Black people or it's everybody in the Americas or it's an African tribe, I'm not sure about that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest, and so anybody in the comments who would like to educate me on that, let me know. Um, what else do I know? I know they lying about something, and I know that the talents match up. We are brilliant. We. I know that the curses match up also. Everything that is said word for word match up with us. I don't know if the timeline matches up. I don't know if the timeline matches up. Like I said, not well versed in the Bible, so I would need somebody to break that down to me in the thing. And if you need me to go read a passage, I'll go read it. You know what I mean? I'm open to learning, and not just this. It goes the same thing with Moorish. And I'm just my goal with this channel is to bring my people together. So it doesn't matter what you believe, it's fine. I want to dive into all of these things and see where y'all are all coming from, and maybe we can bridge the gap, come together, stop fighting over ideals, and start creating a way for us to move forward as one people. You know what I mean? Regardless if you're Hebrew Israelite, regardless if you're atheist, Christian, I don't care what you are, that's fine. I know a lot of y'all like, I can't work with them. Come on, bro. Let's put our differences aside. And the ones who can't get on board, fuck it. But if there's anybody out there that feel like me, subscribe to the channel so we can get our people together and stop fighting about dumb shit. Let's get into the video.
Look, I know sometimes you feel like God don't be around, but don't let that get you down. It get better when you smile. I know sometimes it get easier to frown, but don't let the struggle get you down. It get better when you smile.
That was legitness.
All black men.
So here is the undeniable evidence why so many people are starting to believe that the Black people are the true children of Israel, the Israelites. So the Bible says the children of Israel will be scattered to all four corners of the earth. It says in Deuteronomy 28, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. That literally happened to us. From Africa to the Americas, the Caribbean, Europe. Like, we're literally everywhere. And starting in 1619, we were enslaved and oppressed for 400 years, just like the prophecy in Genesis 15 says. Now, can you think of any other group of people that would relate to? I know I can't. Thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. Now, here's why we went through all of this, okay? Y'all made a covenant with us, his chosen people. If you obey, blessings will come. But if you disobey, curses will follow you. Deuteronomy 28 lays it out clearly. And we disobeyed consistently. That's why we have these curses. Slavery, broken families, disease, poverty, mass incarceration. Who else can you think of but us that goes through this at the most extreme, where no one else can even beat us in any of those categories? We're there. That's us, you know? But here's the beautiful part. Romans 11:8 says, Yah put us into a deep sleep. Because I would always wonder, like, why are we just starting to figure all of this out? Well, the Bible has the answers. Y'all put us into a deep sleep so we would forget who we are. But the 400 years is over. Now we're waking up. I'm starting to see it more and more now. From 2019 onward, you've seen it. People are leaving the false religions. They're asking questions, leaving the traditional. It's because they're getting called higher. And we might all not be on the same journey, but it's undeniable we're getting called higher. Many people. And remembering who we are, that's the biggest thing. So as far as knowing our identity of being Israelites, Hebrew Israelites, whatever you want to call it, children of Israel, this isn't about boasting in our identity or hating other nations. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about walking in our purpose. We get the worst results, no matter if everyone else is doing it or not. That's because we weren't built for wickedness. We were built for righteousness. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood. That's why he made us. He created us with this purpose, right? So we were called to be a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a light to the Gentiles. So this isn't about boasting in our identity, but it's about truly living in our purpose. We need to return, to the laws, the statutes, the commandments, and just being that holy priesthood, being a light to the other nations, being a light to the world. Not to be religious, but to be restored. Because we're not lost, we're chosen. And so this is not to flex, but to function as Yah's righteous people. So we can restore our people and walk in the purpose he gave us. It's time to come home. So that's what I have for today. Peace and blessings, y'all.
Or Zephaniah, a Negro Israelite, a son of Cush. Zephaniah means Yahweh hides. Now, Zephaniah's father was named Cushi, and Cushi, as an adjective, that means black. In both Hebrew, it means black, and in Greek, it means black. Now, Cushi is an affectionate term for a Negro of Ethiopian origin, derived from the biblical land of Cush. And it is an area that was alongside the Niger River. And if you actually look at ancient maps in 1736 and ancient maps in 1747 of Africa, you'll find a country called Negro Land and the Kingdom of Judah. This is of utmost importance for us to understand how Yahweh is gathering the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. Because what actually happened is in this Gulf of Guinea in Western Africa, European slave ship holders, they were Ashkenazi slavers. They were of European origin. They were Western Mongols that had infiltrated Britain and mainly Portugal. They were the Ashkenazi slavers. They were wealthy merchant slavers that went down to the coast of Guinea. They employed Mohammedan trappers, Islamics, to go into the kingdom of Judah and Negro land and take the royal house of Judah captive in slave ships, as it's recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, and bring them over to America, and they became known today as what? African Americans.
So how I feel about it is, anytime I hear any of these European people talking about anything from Africa, it irritates my soul, and I tend not to believe it, because I know for a fact, and this is where my theory with the Bible comes in. I look at the Bible like a historical text. I don't look at it like a religious text. That's just my personal preference, my personal way of looking at it. I don't know how everybody else looks at it. That's good for you. Yada, yada, yada. But I believe that the 12 tribes were 12 black tribes who were scattered across the globe before times, who ran the globe. There was a black civilization widespread across the globe, but not one singular civilization. It was multiple groups, because as humans, we tend to group up. You see it today. We tend to group up and create these things, and these things that divide us and separate us from other people, when truly we're all the same. But we, as a black civilization, or black, it was all black people. You know what I mean? There was not one civilization. It was just all black people spread across the globe. Some lived in the Americas, some lived in South Americas, some lived in India, some lived in and there's remnants of these people still around today. Tried to have a video on my channel about black people from around the world. Tribes in Australia, the Philippines, Japan. I mean, not Japan today, but there were tribes in Japan. And India talks about all this, you know what I mean? So, yeah, but that's how I look at the whole situation. So when I hear white men coming out talking about, yeah, they were here. And then there's also the whole theory that America is the Garden of Eden that they described in the Bible. And that goes back to, in Hebrew, America meaning the promised land. You know what I mean? And it makes sense if you look at it if you take the Euphrates River, the Niger River, and you put the Mississippi River in place of it. It talks about red clay, man being made of red clay. Georgia, South Carolina, all them places have red clay. You know what I mean? So down there in the South, around that area, you know what I mean? One thing I do know about North America, and why I would think if I was going to choose a place that life started, I would choose North America, because North America is the only place in the world, the only continent in the world that has every climate. You know what I mean? You can go from cold, you can go from a tropical environment. It has everything. It has deserts. It has plains. It has every natural disaster. It has earthquakes, tsunamis. You know what I mean? Droughts. It gets everything. It has everything. You know what I mean? A lot of continents are pretty much what they are. Like Africa, you have your plain lands and you have your safari lands, like I think those are the plain lands. And then you have some jungles. Yeah, you have jungles, rainforests, and then you have that. But they don't have the snow. They don't have the snow. You know what I mean? And then in Europe, you got the coldness, you got the wetness. I think they get the snow, but they don't have the deserts. You know what I mean? America's the only place where you can go to every biome, every climate on just being on this continent. So that would be my proof. That's what I would say. That pushes my theory forward. That pushes me towards the side of life could have started in the Americas because it makes more sense. You know what I mean? But long story short, you let me know. Y'all correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I don't believe that they necessarily had to come from Africa. They could have been in the Americas, or they could have came here from Africa. They could have really been in Africa and been brought here. I'm not against either one, but I can't trust it when it's coming out of their mouth. It seems like a psyop. But let's keep going.
And it could well be that there are as many as a couple 100,000 black Jews in America today. That could well be.
I also take exception with your vast underestimation of how many potential Israelites could be here in America. It shows that you have not researched this subject as well as you claim to have researched this subject. And I'm going to use one group. I'm not going to use the Akan, the Yoruba, and others. I do acknowledge that there are others. I'm going to point out something to you specifically, Dr. Brown, that you may not know. Now, if you Google how many African Americans have Igbo ancestry, you'll see right here, this is a quote from Wikipedia, but I'm going to show you some other sources in a second. This is just the first thing that comes up when you Google it. It says Chambers has been quoted saying, my research suggests that perhaps 60% of black Americans have at least one Igbo ancestor. So that's the high end, 60%. The presence of Israelites along the Niger River had been known by Jewish authorities in the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Lithuania, and Suriname. You guys go check out my videos. I cover this. I cover all of this in multiple videos over the last few years, talking about Israelites along the Niger River and the transatlantic slave trade taking place in the exact place that Israelites were known to be. The Igbo are Israelites, and 30 to 60% of black Americans have an Igbo ancestor. Well, we have to determine how many black Americans they are. So in 2020, according to the Census Bureau, 41.6 million black Americans lived here in America. And so if we look at 30% of that number, there are 12,480,000. If we look at 60% of that number, it is 24,960,000. So somewhere between 12 million and 24 million black Americans have Igbo ancestry. And as we just read, a Sephardic Jewish organization known as the Obadiah Alliance declared Igbo to be descendants of ancient Israelites. Well, if you look at those numbers and compare them to the numbers of the people in Israel today, you will see that the number of Israelites over here potentially vastly exceeds the number of people who call themselves Jews in the land of Israel today. So your number of maybe a couple 100,000 is off. Now, let me show you how much it is off. Remember, 30 to 60% of black Americans have an Igbo ancestor. You claim that maybe a couple 100,000. So if we use a percentage calculator right here, let me see. All right. So if we put in 200,000 is what percent of 41.6 million, we get 0.48%. So it is your belief that less than a 0.5% of black people here in America could be Jews, yet the numbers seem to indicate that upwards of 12 to 24 million, maybe more, are likely to be Jews.
Dr. Umar knows the truth about the Israelites.
Me saying that the original Hebrews were all African, that there were no white Jews in Kemet, is a historical fact. That doesn't make me an anti-Semite. In order for me to be an anti-Semite, I have to promote the hatred and oppression of Jews. To be anti-American, I have to promote the hatred and oppression of Americans. For me to be homophobic, I have to promote the hatred and oppression of LGBTQs. You follow me? You have to be about hatred and bigotry. That's where freedom of speech stops. When you promote genocide, when you promote harm, when you promote extermination, when you promote bias, discrimination, racism, now you're being anti. But to say, I am the original Semite, that's a historical fact. Show me proof of any white Jews in Kemet. Show me proof of it. There's no white Jews at the time of the Jewish occupation of ancient Egypt. There's none. They took over the religion the same way white people took over Christianity, the same way the Arab took over Islam. They conquered it and claimed it. So it's no secret how Jews became white. It's the same way Americans became white. Islam became Arab. They moved in, they conquered, they took it over, and they claimed it. That's the history of European imperialism. And they colonized religions the same way they colonized continents.
Your family and friends will call you a liar for knowing this truth. So I have forged an arsenal of the 10 most irrefutable proofs the Israelites are black. Comment facts to get your copy now or click the link in my bio.
The Bible warns us that Israel of today, I want you to understand this, is not Hebrew nor of the sons of Jacob. I want to say it again. The modern day state, it's not a nation, of Israel, they are not Hebrew, neither are they the sons of Jacob. When you try to tell somebody this, it's like there's cognitive dissonance. They can't think through the statement of what you're saying. They automatically think that any person that joins the nation and becomes an Israeli is actually an Israelite of Old Testament, but that simply is not true. The Ashkenazis, they are not Hebrews. If you don't know what that is, I want you to look it up and I want you to educate yourself. The Khazarians, they are not Hebrews at all. I want you to look it up and educate yourself and understand that the majority of the people that live in the modern day state of Israel are actually Europeans, and they do not practice anything from the Bible. The majority of them are absolutely atheist. Can you imagine a European atheist trying to argue with you and tell you, well, I am God's chosen people? And you say, but you're a European and you're an atheist. How in the world could that make you God's chosen people? In fact, in 1 Peter 2, it literally says that believers who were not of a nation are now God's chosen people by faith in Jesus Christ. That's 1 Peter 2. You need to read it. That's written to saved believers, the church, the congregation of the upright, the assembly that trusted in the Lord Jesus Christ, and it's written for all nations. Modern Israel is not Semitic. I want you to understand that.
You didn't know the Israelis are imposters? Watch this.
Most Jewish people have no Palestinian DNA in them.
Semitic denotes people who come from the Semitic region. The Semitic region is the Arab, the Holy Land, and those areas there. The Semitic languages are Arabic and Hebrew. The people who call themselves Jews but are not, as Jesus said, they did not speak Hebrew. They spoke Yiddish. They have no blood ties to the Holy Land. That is why they've outlawed DNA testing in Israel. They actually come from Eastern Europe and Khazaria and that region out there, and they converted to Judaism many centuries ago.
Let's go inside the book, Who is Esau Edom by Charles Wiseman. This is page 8. We thus find that in the years just before the time of Christ, Judea was controlled by an Edomite faction who usurped the Judite name, land, and heritage. Historically, the Edomites became known as Jews, a term derived from Judea, which was derived from the name Judah, being the royal line of Israel, though they were never of Judah or Israel. Yep. Those are fakes. Revelation chapter 2 verse 9, Revelation chapter 3 verse 9. They are the synagogue of Satan.
Hey, you still think African Americans aren't the Israelites of the Bible? Then why are they talking about it on Israeli news?
I've studied myself a lot of history. People were talking about the lost tribes in the 1800s during Columbus's time. This is something that people have shown an interest in. Why is it so important now that the Jewish people have to recognize that there is something to pre-Talmudic Judaism coming from the lost tribes of Jacob?
Pre-Talmudic Judaism. It's a very complex issue, but to say it very simply, normative Judaism is based on halakha. But halakha is relatively a modern development. There was Judaism before, the Judaism that was practiced in the first temple. Where are all these people, Israelites, that practiced Judaism in the first temple? They were Israelites. Judaism is also a modern concept. Now, because of many circumstances...
Judaism comes from Judah, only one of the tribes.
Exactly. So all these communities have been spread out all over the world. They have been under pressures of Christianity and Islam. Many people have been lost under these pressures. Some has survived secretly, like my community in Ethiopia, like the Bnei Anusim in Brazil, like the Lemba in Zimbabwe, and more and more.
Lemba.
Now,
when you really look into it, you would notice that the 10 northern tribes, well, they call it the 10 northern tribes for a reason. The 10 tribes were in the northern half of Israel, and the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and a little bit of Shimon were on the southern side of Israel. So when you discuss going into exile, it would make sense that the Judeans would have direct access to going into Africa. What did he say? It would make sense that the Judeans would have direct access to going into Africa. And in fact, we see through historians like Josephus and other historical documents, even in the Tanakh, there were many different waves of Judeans actually going into Africa in different periods of time, over a 2,000-year period even, including in recent times from the Portuguese Inquisition.
This has been your boy Hendo. I appreciate y'all for checking in. Like, comment, subscribe, hype this video up. Let me know what about this information was right for you Hebrew Israelites out there. Let me know what was about the information was right, what was wrong, what I should look at to dive deeper into this. Who are some creators that I can look at to dive deeper into this? And I know you're going to tell me to dive into the Bible. I will, but you got to start somewhere with people, you know what I mean? So you got to have resources to at least get me into it more to make me want to go there. I hope y'all appreciated the video. Be nice in the comments, you know what I mean? Not everybody believes what you believe. So try to educate your brothers, not try to, unless it's one of them people in the comments, then go ahead, go off. You know what I mean? I don't care. But if it's one of us, if it seems to be one of us, try to lead with understanding that maybe they just ain't had enough knowledge about the subject or whatever, you know what I mean? And do the same with me. I damn sure don't have enough knowledge about the subject, but I hope to be more knowledgeable about it. And what it's your job to put us on, you know what I mean? Not to down us or argue with us and fight with us, you know what I mean? So let's get the valuable discourse going in the comment section, not back and forth or bullshit, you know what I mean? But it's been your boy Hendo. Thank you for checking in, though. We out.